Attention divers, boards are now closed. Please make your way over to the awards area for staging. Again, divers, please meet near the awards area. Thank you.
our country roads lead to new beginnings, with new opportunities around each mountain bend. Here, we don't just pride ourselves on being the best, we commit to it, designing world-class facilities with premier resources, backed by our communities who are determined to aid in our success. Together, we'll reach new heights. We welcome you to the place where you belong.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2022 USA Diving Winter Nationals. I am your announcer, Aaron Rooney, and I, alongside the Milan Park Aquatic Center and USA Diving, welcome you to turn your attention to the pool deck as we welcome the athletes competing in tonight's final events. Introducing the men's synchro platform finalists. Diving first, Aiden Wang and Sam Ulrich. Diving second, Max Flory and Zach Cooper. Diving third, Josh Hedberg and Tyler Wills. Introducing the women's synchro 3-meter finalists. Diving first, Antonina Arnett and Dominique Santiago. Diving second, Sadie Klepfer and Ellie Lee. Diving third, Kiara Lapak and Mary-Kate Kavanaugh. Diving fourth, Ava Gendritz and Megan Jolly. Diving fifth, Lily Castanon and Madeline Cole. Diving sixth, Kaylee Bishop and Avery Warble. Diving seventh, Kayla Jensen and Mariana Huang. Diving eighth, Hannah Butler and Zoe Jespersgaard. Diving ninth, Sam Pickens and Mackenzie Crawford. Diving 10th, Ann Fowler and Carolina Schulte. Diving 11th, Bailey Sturgill and Lily Whitty. Our final divers tonight are Sarah Bacon and Cassidy Cook. Let's have a round of applause for all the finalists in these events.
Dive Live, now available at the Apple and the Google Store. Allows divers to enter their dive sheets, everything they need on the phone, including add video to their dive sheets. Great for recruiting. For coaches, there is no easier way to run. Dive Live, now available at the Apple and the Google Store. Allows divers to enter their dive sheets, everything they need on the phone, including add video to their dive sheets. Great for recruiting. For coaches, there is no easier way to run a diving contest.
Ready to begin with Synchronized Men's Platform.
All
Aiden
right,
and
welcome
Sam,
to Winter Nationals.
201
My name is
B.
Heath Calhoun from the Diving Podcast, and I'm joined here by Jacob Seiler, former Ohio State diver, Olympic trial qualifier, and currently the graduate assistant coach at The Ohio State University. Thanks for joining us, Jacob.
Yeah, thank you guys. We're about to get started here with the finals for day one. It's Synchronized Men's Platform and the women's 3-meter final.
And Aiden and
Total
Sam
score,
just did a back dive
42.
hike. What do you think of that one there?
A little bit of a
Max
soft
and
jump on the
Zach,
takeoff there, but
401
solid
B.
finishes.
There you go. So what were you saying?
Sam and Aiden had a little bit of a
Scores 8, 8, 8, 9, 8, 8, 8, 7.5, 8, 8.5, 8. Total score 48. Josh and Tyler, 103B.
B, and then 5 judges judge the synchronization of the dive. The median score from
Scores 8.5, 8, 8.5, 7.5, 8, 8, 8, 9, 8.5, 8.5, 9. Beginning round 1, synchronized women's 3-meter. Antonina and Dominique, 101B.
of difficulty.
Awesome.
And for the voluntary dives,
All right. Oh. We good?
Scores 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6, 7.5, 6, 6, 5, 5.5, 5.5, 6. Sadie and Ellie, 103B.
What do you think of that?
We had it there for a minute and I didn't hear it out there. And then something tipped.
All right.
Let's just keep talking.
Scores 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 6.
All right, Sadie and
6.5,
Ellie.
6.5, 6, 6, 5.5. Kiara and Mary Kate, 5132D.
I feel like that was a good dive individually, but not as good on the synchronization. What do you think, Jacob?
yeah, that was pretty solid. It can
Scores
be a little
5,
tough
5.5,
to sync
6,
up twisting dives.
6, 6, 6.
The way everyone pops out of
5,
that twist
5,
and starts wrapping up
5,
can be a little
5,
different. So
5.5.
things get a little weird with
Ava
twisters. It's
and
a little
Megan,
harder.
103B.
I agree. Next up, we have Ava and Megan. Something I find pretty interesting, Jacob, is there's a lot of junior divers, and for our listeners, junior divers are athletes that are typically still in high school. What do you think that means just for USA Diving as a whole?
I think it's a really good sign, especially that so many of these junior divers are doing great dives, right? As Ava and Megan here put in a really solid dive.
Scores: 5.5.
I think it does
5.5,
well for the future of the
7,
sport.
6.5,
Now,
6.5.
when you were a junior
5.5,
diver, were you able to come and
5.5,
compete at events like this, and what did it mean to you
5.5,
as a junior diver?
5.
Yes, absolutely, and I did compete in
Lily
a
and
handful of
Madeline,
senior events when I was a junior,
103B.
And it was extremely exciting, especially just being able to compete alongside some of the people who at the time you're viewing as superstars, the older and more experienced people who are extremely good, and you're just in awe to be at their side.
Yeah, and I feel like for these, especially for these young ladies and the young men,
really
as well,
strong
nice.
finish for Lily and Madeline there.
That was awesome. And again, these are 2 divers from Ripfest as well.
Scores:
Kind of keep seeing that club pop up.
6.
But even for these young ladies,
7,
some of these young ladies,
7,
like our next group here,
6,
Avery and Kaylee, they were
5.5,
at Olympic trials
5,
with you,
5.5,
competing this
5.
event. So they're an experienced group, but you
Haley
still have
and
some
Avery,
more
103B.
experienced senior divers that are going to come after them that we'll get to see. Now they hit this really good in the prelim, if I remember correctly.
Timing's really good.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Great finishes.
That was awesome. So when you watch that, what are you focusing on now
Total score:
as you kind of
7.5,
continue to
7,
develop as a coach?
7, 6.
Well,
7,
I mean, obviously
7,
you can always get
6
higher
and a half,
synchronization,
6,
and both of you
6,
nailing the dive
6,
is part of that.
6
but
and a half.
going for height
Kayla and Mariana,
just sharpness of
52,
form for a lot of
31
these
deep.
younger divers is a big thing as they get older and stronger.
Yeah. Now we have another young pairing of Mariana and Kayla from the Woodlands, which they always seem to have good divers down there. That was nice. That was good synchronization there. Whenever they're communicating, they're talking on the board. What are they doing there? How do they get that synchronization to start on time?
Yeah, absolutely. So for synchro especially, I mean, you're being judged the moment you step on the board. The moment the judges can see you, you're putting an impression in their mind of what they're expecting. So you want to be synchronized from the moment you step out from behind the wall, step on the board, adjust your fulcrum, throw your chamois down, and you walk to the end together, you turn around together, and then you're counting ready, partner responds ready, 1, 2, 3, go. I mean, and then from there it's just a set, sequence of takeoff.
Awesome. Nice dive.
A little off there for Hannah and Zoe, a little off on the synchro. One of them washed over on that, but these lower DD dives, not a huge deal. They can make up a lot of points in the later rounds with options.
7,
Yeah, both Zoe
6.5,
and
6,
Hannah are
6,
both diving
6,
college athletes
5,
at UCLA.
6.5, 6.
Next up is one of your
Sam
athletes,
and Mackenzie,
Mackenzie Crawford,
103B.
partnered with Sam Pickens from City of Midland Diving. Now that's a good question. How did these two get partnered up?
Honestly, I think our coaches and just the girls themselves thought they would be a good match and reached out to each other, got in touch, and it just came in from there. I know for a fact they've only been training together yesterday and today.
That's incredible.
What do you say for 2 days of training? Yeah, you like that?
That was awesome. I think we were talking about it off air beforehand.
Scores: 7.5,
and just every single
7.5,
rep these two do
7.5,
together, it gets better
7.5,
and better and better and better. And I think we're going to see that here.
7.5,
And we even talked about it with some other
8,
people on deck, just kind of
7.
getting to see them fine tune it and just see some of
Carolina,
these competitors kind of turn it on.
401B.
Again, another pairing that's kind of a far distance of pairing in terms of Ann Fowler at College Diver Indiana and Carolina Schulte at USC. So how do you, is it just, hey, I want to try synchro with this person, or, is it coaches communication, or does USA Diving even play a role in maybe partnering people up and pairing them up?
USA Diving hasn't played a part in that, at least since I was very young. But for the most part, it does. It comes from the athletes and from the coaches, for people who they think would work well together, and especially for two really high-quality athletes like Ann and Carolina, who are extremely skilled in their own rights. It's a lot of the time just a question of timing and standing on the board and figuring out how to go at the same time. And we know they can do good dives on their own, now do it at the same time.
Yeah, so this is actually really neat in my opinion, because we just had two pretty experienced groups of divers, not necessarily experienced together, but now we have an experienced young group of Bailey and Lily that have been synchro for a little bit here.
Now they may be young, but they are not inexperienced or low quality by any means. Those were very good dives right there.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Scores.
I think they competed recently in a synchro event together as well, but just a great dive.
7.5.
I know. I think these. It's fair to say these are probably our favorites for this event. The favorites
Sarah
to win,
and Cassidy
and Sarah.
201B.
Last time they competed together was at Olympic Trials, and you were there. Kind of, what was the last time you remember them competing together like?
Well, Olympic Trials, they were, heavily favored to go to the Olympics for synchronized diving on 3 meter, and did not end up making the Olympic team due to some unfortunate circumstances during the event. But I'd say it's clear that they're back with a vengeance, leading after the prelim with a large margin and a very strong back dive to start off their final.
Oh man, that was incredible.
That was excellent, very, very sharp. And I think you can see there the difference in just sharpness that you're looking at from the more experienced divers.
Absolutely. I mean, you just watch the dive, and I think it's what you want to see is, at least from my perspective, is I want to watch something and they just make it look so effortless, and they did a great job of that.
I'm Aiden Wall. I dive at Montgomery Dive Club. My favorite dive is...
I do. I think it's a little bit where you're kind of trying to pick apart these really small details to make sure you're moving at the same time. And it's also an interesting...
I'm Aiden Wall. I dive at Montgomery Dive Club. My favorite dive is the River 2.5 tuck on 1 meter, and I dive because it's my passion and it pushes me every day.
Yeah. So now starting round 2, as you see these young divers, what is something they battle as?
My name is Sam Ulrich. I dive at Ripfest. My favorite dive is 407C on 10 meter, and I dive because I love the excitement and I really love making people jealous.
And what are some things that maybe the goals are for the younger athletes compared to a team like?
Well, for Sarah and Cassidy, I think they come here with one goal in mind. They want to win the event, and they want to qualify for an international meet for Team USA. They want to put themselves somewhere else after this event. A lot of these younger teams, certainly some of them are gunning for that spot, but a lot of the younger teams are coming here for experience, to get a competition in before the summer season starts. A lot of different reasons, and these events, especially with the experienced athletes around, can be nerve-wracking.
Right.
But don't ask these guys, because they look cool as a cucumber.
This is awesome.
Those were really strong, and those simpler dives can be just as challenging as hard ones, because they require a great deal of control to all the movements.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess maybe I'm picking a little bit with you. Was that something maybe, because I know you were amazing at the harder skills. Did you ever struggle with the simpler skills?
I absolutely did. The dive we just saw, a 301B, is terrifying. I've only done about 10 of them in my life, in synchro, because I was required to. The dive we're about to see from Max and Zach, I have never done. A back dive pike. What? That's the scariest thing I can think of.
You've never done a back dive pike?
Never have done a back dive pike on 10 meter, ever.
That's crazy. That's a good fun fact, actually. That's wild.
Now, 207B, that was my favorite dive.
Yeah, that's because you're an animal. All right, let's see.
Yeah, I think these guys are going to show us a nice back dive here.
Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, man.
2 shreds.
That's awesome.
Now, these guys are great. They were both at Olympic trials also. Yeah. Very strong back dive.
Scores, 8.5, 8, 8.5, 9, 8.5.
We have a stink bug on our lens.
8,
Small technical issue
9,
there. Yeah, we got a couple 9s on the scorecard there. That was a really high-quality dive.
It started incredibly strong. It was funny speaking to the coaches that kind of ahead of time. I was like, I just have a feeling these Miami divers, they were just a little bit off in the prelim. And I just have a feeling they're going to hit some dives for us and kind of put on a show for the live stream here. And these young guys, I think, are going to do the exact same thing.
We got a back twister for Josh and Tyler here. Only ones doing this dive, nice and slow. And I don't think a drop of water left the surface of the pool. That was amazing.
Just
beautiful, sharp, slightly
Scores, 9, 8.5, 9,
you can see
7.5,
8 on synchronization, but that is a really,
8.5,
really strong
9,
for very
7.5,
high-level diving,
8,
50 points
7.5.
is your goal point for these voluntary
Beginning round
dives,
2,
right
synchronized women's 3 meter.
Awesome. Now kind of transitioning
Antonina
back to the women
Dominique,
here. So the top 12 make
53-31D.
finals in these events this week. As you can see, we only had 3 competitive teams entered on men's 10 meter, but we did have 14 for the women, so we have 12 into finals here. Ooh, little off there.
A little bit of an unfortunate one for Antonino and Dominique there, but again, as I said earlier, there's a lot of space that can be made up on those optional dives. No reason to panic just yet.
2.5.
And I think maybe something really good for our listeners to hear is, Jacob, do you mind kind of walking us through? They can see where it says dive on the scoreboard there in the upper right-hand corner of the live stream. It says dive and it has 201B. Can you kind of walk our listeners, kind of give them a crash course, or viewers, excuse me, of what those numbers mean and what they indicate for the divers?
Absolutely, and it'll take you some time and experience to be able to identify those quickly, but it's just a numeric code to tell you what the dive is. So right here we're seeing a back dive from Sadie and Ellie. That was pretty solid dive, a little heavy on the water, but back dive, 201B.
Scores,
so the first number indicates direction, the last number is flips. 7, 1 is 7, 2 is back, 3 is reverse, 4 is inward.
5.5.
Last number is going to be flips there
6.5.
by half a somersault. So 1 is half a flip, 2 is a
Kiara
flip,
and Mary
1.5. And that's basically all there is to it. Twisters get a little more complicated. They start with a 5, but that's about as well as I can explain it in a limited time, but it just takes time to learn.
Now this was actually a change dive from the prelim. Kiara and Mary Kate actually struggled a little bit with their 107C, which was an optional front 3.5 tuck, so they changed this to their voluntary 105B. And I think that was a good change for them.
4.5, 5,
even though they lose
6,
some degree of difficulty,
6.5,
I think it was a good change because I think that's about what they ended up scoring on their 107 earlier, if I remember correctly.
4.
Yeah, a little off on synchronization there, but if you land on your head and hit your dive, that's definitely better than a low quality dive, even if you're a little off timing.
So just kind of while we're watching, while we're talking about these dives, walk us through a little bit about maybe Ohio State's season and how you guys prepared coming into this Winter Nationals, as you also, I feel sure, battled finals and just the end of the semester academically for your student athletes.
Yeah, absolutely. The end of the semester is huge coming into this event, and I'm sure a lot of the junior athletes are probably missing school to come to this event. So high stress leading up to this.
Scores,
and, so
5,
it's just a constant battle to stay healthy with the stress and changing weather, and to keep ramping up training, tapering down in the weight room, and trying to peak at the appropriate time for this event.
Right.
Lily and Madeline, 52,
All right,
31
Lily and
D.
Madeline, same dive we saw Josh and Tyler do on 10 meter, but they're going to do it here on the 3 meter springboard, a back 1.5 somersaults with a half twist.
Heath, give me a prediction here. What's your score?
I got to see the dive first.
No, it's a prediction.
All right, 38 points. What about you?
No, I gotta see the dive first. I think they're gonna go slightly above 38.
I would
that was
agree.
pretty solid.
That was awesome.
Just
that was
washing
awesome.
slightly over on the end of that, but very solid.
Scores, 6,
Yep,
6,
just a little bit more. Great.
6,
I think
7,
you cheated.
7,
I don't think it's a prediction if you
6.5,
see the
7,
dive ahead of time.
7, 6.
So next up, I want to say this was the youngest
Kaylee
pairing
and
at
Avery.
Olympic trials was Avery and
301B.
Kaylee at Olympic trials. So I think this is just another great experience just for them to compete together again. Again, they were a little bit off this morning, but I think we're going to see them perform really well here this evening.
Timing looks amazing.
Yep.
Yeah, a little off on execution. Synchronized timing is great, but execution is a little off, so that's somewhere they can continue to improve in the future.
8.5.
Still, at the end of the day, 7 points higher than what they did in prelims, so that's better.
5.5.
Absolutely. Any
6.5.
improvement is going to be a positive
6,
here.
Yep.
7.
And here's
5.5,
another young group, Mariana
4.5.
and Kayla.
Kayla and Mariana, 301B.
301B reverse dive. So same dive we just saw, so let's kind of compare and see how it looks.
That was a lot nicer. A little bit heavy on the water for both of them, but excellent synchronization, solid execution,
5.5,
just a little splashy
6,
going through the pool.
6, 6.5, 5.5, 5.5, 6,
Up
5,
is going to be Hannah
6.5,
and Zoe from
5.5.
UCLA. They're diving unattached, so
Hannah and
that's a good
Zoe,
one. Why are they
301B.
unattached versus diving under the UCLA? Do you have any idea why that's the case?
Yeah, so for colleges in the NCAA to have their divers compete in USA diving events, we have to submit outside competition forms to the university. Those have to be approved. Most of the divers from university compete unattached, but if the university coach and the divers felt so inclined to create a club and register it with USA Diving, they are free to do that. But that's usually an extra step that's not taken simply because most of the college athletes are coming here trying to make it to Team USA or make it to an international meet.
Sam
so
and Mackenzie.
that's just an extra step
301
that we don't usually find necessary.
And now we're going to kind of see the three maybe more elder stateswomen and experienced on this scene, and then partnered up there in that number 2 seed with Bailey and Lily. But we're going to start with Sam and Mackenzie.
Just a little off going through the water. One short and one over, but not bad at all.
I'll tell you what, though, the synchronization looks
Scores,
good. The dives were a little bit off.
6.5,
So how, we
six,
see that. We see the
5.5,
scores being maybe a touch higher
6.5,
on the synchronization,
6.5,
like you mentioned.
7,
And
6.5,
I guess as a coach,
6.5,
when you're watching
6.
this, what's the best way
Ann
to
and
approach
Carolina,
synchronized? Do you have 2
301
separate coaches
B.
coaching each individual diver? Do you have one coach coaching both? What's the best way to approach this from a coaching perspective?
When it's 2 divers from different universities like Mackenzie and Samantha there, it usually is each individual coach coaching their diver, and then the coaches kind of work together to coach the synchronization piece of that.
Awesome.
A little different on distance there, but really strong dives from Ann and Carolina.
So you think this might be an example of seeing good execution, but maybe a lower synchronization score?
Absolutely, because there was a
Scores,
difference. Carolina
8,
was about 2 feet
7,
further away from
7,
the board there, but
6,
they both did
7,
really pretty dives
6.5,
in the air. So you
7,
see on the
6.5,
execution score,
6.5,
Carolina's losing
6.5,
points for distance
7.
as well.
Yep, that makes sense.
Bailey and Lily, 51-32 D.
Now they crushed this dive for 42 points in prelims, so let's see if they can do better here. Do you think they'll do better or worse?
42 in prelims? Yeah, I think they got more than that. See, strong on the board, perfect timing. I think that'll go 43 and a half.
That's pretty good. Let's see.
Scores 7, 7, 6,
That's all right.
7,
That's
6
still
and a
pretty
half,
darn good.
6 and a
It's
half.
gotta be
Yeah,
nice.
that's a really strong
7,
ball right there. And
7,
especially as I mentioned
7,
earlier, twisters can
7,
be tricky to put together,
7.
and their timing on that was beautiful.
All right,
Sarah
so next
and
up are our
Cassidy,
favorites. They went
301
for
B.
49.8 points on this in prelims, so let's see if they can do better. What do you think? Better or worse?
Hard to do much better than 49 on a
Yeah.
2.0, but I would expect them to be right up close to that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I suspect they will be. That was awesome.
Agreed. You know, let's talk a little bit just about the approach that we're seeing.
8,
51.
8,
See some
8.5,
9s, some 8.5.
That is
awesome.
exactly what you
9,
want on those voluntaries.
8.5.
What a
8.
way to start with their voluntaries here. You know, walk us through from a springboard what the women are on. When they're doing that walk up, you know, what are we calling that as coaches or for our viewers? What is that called, and what are they watching? What are they working on there?
Yeah, so that's referred to as your hurdle. And basically you're walking to the end, landing on one leg and lifting your knee, and all of that movement is just a way to get some rhythm into the board.
Dive Live, now available at the Apple and the Google Store. Allows divers to enter their dive sheets, everything they need on the phone, including add video to their dive sheets. Great for recruiting. For coaches, there is no easier way to run a diving
More
contest.
towards the other partner, or vice versa, or is it more
Absolutely.
of a meshing?
Absolutely. I mean, for the most part, you're normally going to meet somewhere in the middle, but certain parts of the hurdle, whether you jump into that
We are ready to
step
begin
really
round
big or
3,
lunge
synchronized
in,
men's
you're probably both
platform.
going to have to change what you're
Aiden
doing a
and
little bit
Sam,
to sync that
107
up. And normally
B.
it is a meeting in the middle. One person has to go bigger than normal, the other person has to go smaller than normal.
Right. All right, now we're going to get started into our optionals. Why don't you explain to our viewers what optionals are compared to those voluntaries that you already described?
Yeah, so these are going to be harder dives, no DD limit on these. This is where the exciting stuff really gets going. Front 3.5 here for Aiden and Sam. Ooh. Oh, Sam's was beautiful. Aiden's not bad, but just a little bit over. That was very good.
Scores
That was-
5.5, 4.
So you can see the
5,
difference in the execution
7.5,
scores there between
9,
diver 1
7.5,
and diver
Wow, a
2.
9.
5.5,
5%.
5.5,
awesome. That
5.5,
is awesome.
6, 6. Max
All right,
Zach.
now the fun ones, like we
407
said.
C.
So in prelims, this was a 63-point dive for these two gentlemen, and really looking to kind of see if they can put these dives down like we're seeing in the practice and in the warm-up.
Yeah, I would expect these guys to put this in for more than 63 right now. Got that finals adrenaline flowing through the veins. I think that'll go for just about 65.
Just a little off on those entries. Why would they be a little bit off on those? Everything else looked pretty good. What do you think, Jacob?
Well, the way you're going through the water has everything to do with how you're grabbing your hands and how you're swinging out your arms underneath the water.
6.5,
Any bend in your arms or a slight mistone of your wrist can just miss out that rib feeling. So you really have to have straight locked out arms and push yourself through the water really quickly.
Right.
And they went 64 and change on that, so right close to that 65 mark.
And this dive was 61.2 earlier, so we're just going to think as a coach, what are you looking for between a prelims finals? Are you looking for a major change in what they're doing? Are you looking for a small change? What do you want to see?
Ooh, I want to see that right there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Josh and Tyler, now these two young guys are incredible. Slight difference in distance there on the water, but both
Scores,
immaculate
8,
entries
7,
into the water. 71 points reflected.
That's awesome.
To answer your question there, between
7.5,
prelims
8,
and finals,
8,
it depends
7.
on how you performed in prelims.
Right.
If you
Beginning
did
round
amazingly
3,
in prelims,
synchronized
as a
women's
coach,
3
I'm
meter.
telling you,
Antonina,
take a deep breath,
Dominique,
do what you do,
305
go out there and
C.
do it again. But if you had some big mistakes in prelims, maybe due to nervousness or whatever, I'm going to do what I can to try to get you back into your normal rhythm, because here on the day, we're not trying to fix the big problems in your technique. We're trying to help you do it the best you can that day.
Right. That was a good dive there from Antonina and Dominique. That was much better, I believe, than what they did in the prelim.
Scores,
in the prelim, that was
5,
a 31-point
5.5,
dive for them.
6,
so for them to up it by 8
5.5,
points, that's
5,
awesome. That was much better than
5.5,
Good
prelims.
math.
4.5,
Heath, that's a 12-point
5,
increase.
5.5,
Excellent work.
5.
Yeah.
No, it's hard.
Sadie and Ellie, 52, 35.
Yeah, excellent. 12-point
Yeah.
increase from prelims
awesome.
to finals is great to see. I mean, they're going to be happy with that, I'm sure.
All right, Sadie and Ellie from Ripfest here. Awesome. Now, it looked like whoever was on the right board there, it looked like she lost her legs a little bit. So as a judge, if you see that, what do you do with that?
Absolutely. I mean, if you lose the legs, that affects your lines, it affects the aesthetic of the
Scores,
dive, and
4,
you're going to lose points
0,
for that.
1,
You can see that 0
4,
there.
3,
If you over
4,
or under twist on a
3.5,
twister by more than
1.5,
a quarter of a
3.5,
twist, that judge is
4.5,
entitled to fail your dive.
3.5.
So I believe that judge thought they saw more than a quarter
Kiara
twist
and
off.
Mary Kate,
So maybe walk
205 C.
our viewers through a little bit of what are the, you talked a little bit about it, but what are the judges looking for? And then maybe more importantly, what are the parts that you think are the most important now as you're coaching? What do you like focusing on primarily with your athletes?
Well, we're an aesthetic sport, first and foremost, so we're looking for long lines, sharp lines. You're trying to go in the water without a splash. You're trying to jump high off the board. These girls leave it a little short on the water, but relatively good dives. But we're looking for height, power, grace. As you said earlier, make it
Scores,
look
6.5,
effortless.
5.5.
If somebody who's never
5,
dove before in a
5,
day in their life
5,
says, "Oh, I can do
5.5,
that," they just compliment you.
5,
That's the
6.5,
best compliment you
6,
can receive right there, because
5,
you're doing it right if it
5.5.
looks easy.
And then you just want to look at them and say, okay, I would
Ava
like for you
and
to
Megan,
please try that so
205
I can
C.
watch.
But yeah, as a judge, the judges are gonna take points off if they see bent knees or unpointed toes, bent arms at the wrong time, heavy splash. Being out of rhythm with the board will make a heavy, clanging sound. That'll take off a little bit of points. Those girls really similar back 2.5 there. Barely short, not bad though.
It does
Scores,
seem
4.5,
as though
4,
people are performing
4,
significantly
6,
better here in finals
6,
than what we saw
5.5,
in the prelims.
5,
Is that something you see as a
4.5,
trend?
4.5,
Normally people kind of turning it
5,
on for finals
5.5.
compared to the prelim event?
Lily
I think that
and
does
Madeline,
happen a lot.
405 C.
You're going to have more adrenaline in the final, which can often help, but a lot of the time people are really nervous in the prelim too, and that is always going to hinder you. So especially if you were nervous in the prelim and then you slip through into the final and you're just thankful to be there, you're more relaxed, you flow better, everything seems to work out better in those cases.
Just let it fly.
Oh, strong inward takeoff. Oh, not the best finish there for those two, but those were some good-looking takeoffs. Just got to work on getting to the water aggressively, finish that dive.
Now, when you see that,
Scores,
for our viewers,
seven,
like we said,
six,
really good takeoffs
5,
there.
4,
Is that a
4,
confidence? Is that not
5,
seeing their spots
4,
in terms of where they need to come out? What do you think that
3.5,
is when you see
4.5.
that from a coach's perspective?
I think it could be a little bit of both, but
405
in essence, even if you're guessing where to come out, you need to do it as hard and as fast as you can with that leg lock, so that even if you're guessing, you want to give yourself the best chance to rip that dive. So you got to have your confidence up. You got to get out fast out of those dives.
Kind of like those two did a little bit better
Yeah,
there?
those were a lot more confident come-outs, but we saw a really big difference in synchronization there. That timing on the board got a little bit off.
Scores 5,
I believe
5.5, 5.5.
Kaylee's diving
6,
at Coral Springs, and I think
6,
Avery might be
6,
at
5,
ISD.
4.5.
So
5,
do you think that is
5,
just something along the lines of
5.5.
as you get closer to a bigger competition
Kayla
over
and
the
Mariana,
next few years,
107
leading
C.
into, I would imagine, Olympic trials, they might try to coordinate and train together? Is that something that happens with these athletes, even with the younger athletes?
I don't know how many of them would move permanently to train together all the time, but I know plenty of people, including myself, who have taken cross-country trips to spend a week or a weekend training with their synchro partners.
Scores
So that's not
4,
out of the ordinary.
4, 3.5, 5.5.
A little bit off there
5,
by Kayla and
5.5, 4, 3, 4, 4.5, 5. Hannah and Zoe, 405C.
Hannah and Zoe, 405C. This was their lowest scoring dive in the prelim with 43.74 points. So let's see if they can up that from the prelim.
A lowest score of 43 is a pretty good place to start your event.
I would agree with
That is
that.
not a bad score.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Oh yeah, both very good dives there, but a little bit off in synchronization. We got a difference in distance and a little bit off in timing. I would
Scores
expect a good
6,
score here.
6.5,
Yep, there you go.
6, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6.5, 6, 6.5. Sam and
Now, I guess I think this is a good question
205B.
for you, since you have kind of been all over the country. I'm not sure, actually. I don't know if I've ever asked you if you've done international meets, but what do you think of the facility here at West Virginia?
I have done international meets. I've been to Italy and Canada, but this facility is great. It's really similar if you've ever been in Knoxville, Tennessee. I think it's one of the top facilities in the nation. I mean, they got a really great setup here. It's a very new pool. I can't find anything wrong with it.
That's always a good thing to hear.
Mackenzie and Sam. Oh, really solid
Nice.
205B. Mackenzie drops that just a little bit short, but pretty solid.
Scores
Perfect timing.
5.5, 6,
59. They're going to be happy with that.
6,
11
6,
points higher than
6,
prelim. That was their
7,
lowest scoring dive.
7,
That's awesome.
6.5, 7, 7.
And I think
Ann
I
and
could
Carolina,
be incorrect.
107.
And she might, Sam might hit me for saying this. That is all joking, but I think Sam may be the oldest athlete at the meet. Sam, I don't think you're supposed to say how old a woman is, but Sam is the most experienced athlete at this meet.
Most experienced. That was an artful way to get around that.
And
Good job.
still doing awesome.
Absolutely throwing it down.
Yes.
All right. A little bit over on the water for Ann and Carolina. Slight over rotation, but not a bad dive at all. I would expect low 50s on that.
Scores 5, 7,
Yep, there you go.
5.
Now,
5,
when I watched,
5.5,
it looked like
5.5,
Ann is on the closer board there,
6,
Jacob. It almost looked like she was
6,
just slightly
6.5,
rolling in, maybe
5.5.
not finished all the way. What is that? You know,
Bailey
how do you
and
handle that
Lily,
as an athlete when you're trying to finish
405C.
that dive and you maybe think you're not there?
Those differences right on the surface of the water are really minute, but it comes down to where you're trying to lock your eyes on the surface of the water and where you're reaching your arms. So if you just get a little rounded in the shoulders or you've got your eyes a little too close to the board, I mean, that's going to roll over, but it's a fraction of a second. We're trying to find that water on the end of the dive.
Nice dive.
Scores 6, 6, 6.5,
Exact
6.5,
same score.
5.5,
Exact?
6,
Exact same
Wow.
score.
6,
5103 was the
6.5,
same exact
6,
score they got
7,
in prelim,
7.
so talk about consistency
Yeah,
there.
can't be mad at that.
Sarah
at all.
and Cassidy.
62.1
405B.
is the number they would be searching for from prelims earlier. This was a really strong dive for them. I think another really interesting thing to notice is how do the women are doing 5 dives, the men do 6. How do the women go about selecting what they're going to do for their voluntaries or the first 2, the easy dives, compared to the harder dives, the optionals for their last 3?
So for synchro, normally people are going to take the categories that they're not as good at and make those the voluntary dives that are a little bit less valuable, and they're going to use their strongest dives as the bigger, higher DD optionals. So Sarah and Cassidy here with the 4 and 5, and that was an extremely strong. Both of them rolling slightly over, but staying very, very clean. Small splash on the pool. 62.
Scores:
the same?
4.5, 6.5,
A little low
7,
on my guess there.
8,
Now-
7.
Now,
8,
this is probably a
7.5,
question that the judges
7,
won't like. Do you
7,
think there is
7.5,
a
7.5.
judging bump in finals whenever the lights are on? Do you think the judges have a tendency to want to maybe give that 9 instead of that 8 or 8.5?
I think whether it is conscious or not in the judge's mind, that is certainly present. I think it might not be something a judge thinks about, oh, it's finals, I'm going to give half a point extra.
Right.
But just the environment, the feeling in the pool, I think it definitely gets a little bit elevated.
That's awesome. We're going to be rolling into round 4 here. Round 4. So this is kind of starting the back half of this meet for the gentlemen. That's the midway mark, or excuse me, we're on the back half as well for the women. And I think this is where we're going to see some dives that maybe they're not as confident in. Do you think that's kind of the case here? This is where you maybe put your dive you're not the most confident in out of your optionals?
Yeah, I think putting those not confident dives in the middle is a good strategy. That's what I always did. I always started with a dive that I felt really comfortable with. I always finished with my best dive, or the one I thought was going to be the best anyway. It didn't always work out that way. And then everything else was in between those two in some order. But I would start and end with my best dives,
Right.
certainly.
We're kind of waiting here in between. We
We are
just
ready
noticed
to
that we're
begin
actually up on
round
the big
4
screen,
of the
which is pretty
Synchronized
cool.
men's platform. Aiden and Sam, 407C.
407. So we've seen one of these already. Let's see if they can kind of up it from what Max and Zach did earlier.
I have a feeling these guys are going to put a good rip on the water. These guys have a tendency to go in very, very clean. Half.
Yep.
Sam again with a really solid one, and Aiden just looked like he ducked his head a little on the end there and rolled it over.
Scores:
Sam seems to be
6.5,
on
4,
fire
4,
this finals.
6, 6.5,
Certainly
7,
seems that way so far.
5,
To keep
4.5,
48 on that, I
4.5,
think they are fortunate.
5.5,
That was a pretty big difference in
5.5.
synchronization.
Right.
I think they got
Max
away with one
and
there.
Zach, 307C.
All right, so this is one of their lower scoring scores as well, lower scoring dives, excuse me, from prelims, only 47.9, and we know that these guys can both throw this dive down and disappear.
Absolutely. I saw them do this dive in prelims, and they both left it just a hair short from the water, under-rotated, so we'll see if they can make that adjustment. And they do.
Let's
Oh
go! Do we see a 90-point dive
That
or
was,
80?
we like to call that
Scores:
spice. That was
8.5,
muy
7.5,
caliente.
7.5,
82
8.5,
points.
8,
That, yeah.
In the
8.5,
industry, we call
8,
that a lot
8,
of points.
9.5.
That is
8.5.
awesome.
Very, very good dive from Max and Zach.
Josh
Way to come
and
back from
Tyler,
that previous dive where they were just a little
407C.
off. Now it's, do you ever, I guess there's two ways to look at it. You have someone just crushes a dive. Now for these young men to have to go up there right after that, is that something, and maybe it depends athlete to athlete, do you feed off that? And does that kind of up it for you? Or is it, oh no, we got to top that?
Personally, it would depend for me on who the athlete was who went before me.
Mhm.
So for one of my teammates, I got a little friendly, okay, well, I'll show you, you know, but if it's somebody I don't know or is not on my team, I'm just trying to stay focused. And oh my goodness, Josh and Tyler both 1 degree short of vertical, but absolutely
Scores:
disappear
9,
into the pool.
7,
And
8
coming
and a half,
right after it with a
8,
76.
That's awesome.
8,
That's
awesome.
holding your nerve
8
right
and a
there.
half,
That is
8,
really good.
Like you
8,
said earlier, it's like
8.
they're young but not
Beginning round
inexperienced,
4,
and I think that is
synchronized women's
just
3
awesome
meter.
to see. Because I have a weird feeling that we might see all
205C.
3 of these teams in 2 years at Olympic trials.
I'd be shocked if we didn't.
Yeah, I would agree. I have to ask, why do we not see a men's Ohio State synchro team up there?
The tower divers that we have at the moment just don't match up super well. So
Nice.
we've got a couple battling injuries that are trying to get back, and
Yeah.
I retired, so I'm out. So just don't have the personnel at the moment.
Not yet. I have a weird feeling that in 2 years that may be a different story. So, all right.
Antonina and
Scores,
Dominique, they're a little bit
5,
off.
6, 5.5,
Synchronization, execution
5,
is kind of medium, but
5,
pretty off timing. So
5, 4,
not their best score.
3,
Do you think that
4,
is
4,
expected with a young synchro
Sadie
pairing, that maybe that
Ellie,
synchronization is a little bit off, but we're
305C.
seeing the execution in that good to very good range, but the synchronization is the part they're struggling with?
That can change team to team. Being
Right.
off time can happen for a lot of different reasons, whether it's just one dive or a consistent problem they're trying to fix. But that changes team to team. As we see Sadie and Ellie here vastly under-rotate their
Right.
305. That's a tough
Scores,
dive.
4.5,
Gainers are going to give
4,
everyone trouble,
4,
and you're
2,
going to see that as
3,
a trend across the
3,
league. People struggle.
2.5,
So,
3.5.
so that's a good question.
3,
Why do you think that we're going to
2.5,
see athletes
2.5.
struggle with that dive? What makes that dive so challenging?
Kiara,
Gainers in
American
general are, I think, for a
305C.
lot of people, the ones that are scariest. You're going to have the most nerves. Doing a hurdle facing forward introduces extra elements that you have to control. It just is the one that tends to give the most people the biggest problems. As we see another one that is not incredible, but not terrible. But those are just really tough to nail down.
Yeah.
Scores,
And
4,
that's a dive they
3.5,
actually did not
4,
compete
4.5, 5,
in the prelim. They
5,
actually did a reverse dive
4,
pike as a voluntary,
4.5,
and they changed that.
3.5,
And they
4.5,
scored more than what they scored
4.5.
in that position. They scored
Ava
26
and
points
Megan,
on front 3.5 there.
305C.
So to go 30 plus.
Good change.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
We're about to see another 305 from Ava and Megan. Both a little over-rotated there. I mean, there's 3 in a row where we're not perfect on those gainers. You know, you can see those struggles start to creep in.
Scores, 3.5.
I'll say it again,
4,
you're going to see that
5,
across the entire meet.
5,
You're going to
4
see
and a
people
half,
hit them, and you're going to
5,
see more people
4.5.
miss 'em.
So now as a coach,
3.5, 3.5.
obviously you want to see
4.5.
divers hit dives and just destroy
Lily
them and
Madeline,
disappear.
305.
Would you rather see a diver under-rotate or over-rotate?
In general, I would say over-rotate, because that means you're not babying the dive, you're going hard, which is what we want. You always want to go hard, give it your best shot. If you under-rotate, then you never even gave yourself a chance.
Right, right. Oh. Almost. Again, reverses. Reverses.
Scores, 5, 4.5, 4.5, 4.
A lot of people putting that
4.5,
gainer in the middle of their
4.5,
list.
4, 4, 4, 3.5,
We're going to
4.5.
see a back 2.5 pike next. So
Kaylee and
another
Avery,
backward
205
rotating
B.
dive. What makes these challenging with, you've talked about seeing the water. What do you mean when you say seeing the water?
Absolutely. You got to time your come out, obviously. Coming out at the proper time, pointing your feet in the right spot, getting into the water vertical is paramount. So you got to see the water.
Much better than earlier.
Yeah,
Much
solid
better
dive
than
there.
earlier.
Both landing vertical. A little bit of a height problem for, I believe, Kaylee on that side.
Kaylee's on the right, Avery was on the left. You'd be correct.
Yeah, so a little bit of a
Scores,
height issue
5.5,
there. I mean,
7,
she just needs to jump
7,
high to make that. She came out at
4,
the right angle.
5,
But we got to see
4.5,
the water go by twice.
5.5,
Try to point our
6,
feet pretty much right at the
6,
board for most
5,
people on that back
4.5.
If you leave your feet too high, you're going
Kayla
to be
and
flying
Mariana,
over. You leave your feet too low,
205C.
you're going to land flat on your back. You're going to have a good day.
Now, do all divers spot? Do some of them dive eyes closed? And how on earth would you even do that?
No one should ever dive eyes closed.
Good.
If anyone tells me they do, I'm going to tell them immediately that they need to stop. There was a
Nice.
good 205 from Kayla and Mariana.
That was awesome. Mariana crushed that dive.
Yeah, I think as a coach, I'd like to say ideally everyone should spot, but the truth is a lot of people probably don't spot as well as we would like them to. So there's a lot of feeling your body and feeling the rotation involved as well, and muscle memory, just reps. I mean, how many do you have in the tank?
Right.
Hannah
Now, are you
and
an athlete
Zoe,
that could just rep
107C.
things out? Like, what was the did you like doing massive amounts of reps?
I did not like it, but I did need it. And I did do it because I do spot well, but I also had about the worst hurdle in the world. So I had to do a lot of reps and make sure I could do my dive from the end of the board, over the end of the board, side of the board, way back from the end of the board.
And you could. And Hannah and Zoe there did a front 3.5 tuck. It looked like the execution was okay from both.
6.5.
We see that, but the synchronization was pretty on, as you can see there. Pretty good to above average scores there.
6.5. 5.5.
Now again, we're getting into kind of our top 4 here.
Sam and Mackenzie, 405B.
Now Mackenzie, is she a junior or senior for you guys?
She is a senior.
Wow, that's kind of wild to think she is that. I think he's adjusted. That's kind of wild that she's been there for 4 years now. Let's see. Oh.
Now, I don't know if the judges can see this, but from up here, I could tell that Mackenzie was moving a little bit sideways.
Yeah.
Let's see. It doesn't look like the judges can tell based on those scores, which is good for Mackenzie.
Awesome.
But put it in the water extremely clean, very little splash, solid synchronization.
Now,
60 points is really solid.
Is that something you guys see from Mackenzie quite often, kind of turning it on when the lights are on?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, you'll see that from a lot of people.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
practice
sure.
and meets are not even the same animal. But
No.
that adrenaline can work wonders. At OSU, we call that the meat sauce.
All right, Anna and Carolina here.
Oh my!
Go.
That was beautiful.
And they can probably, you guys hopefully at home can hear the crowd.
Scores 6.5, 7, 6.5, 6.5, 7.5, 7, 7, 7.5, 7, 7.5, 7.5.
I can't hear him.
Bailey and Lily, 305C.
Oh. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I got him now. Thank you, sir. Just getting through our live stream here, making sure we can get this rolling for you guys every single day. Now, those are 2 better reverses than what we've seen. Still a little short there by Lily, but Bailey had a good one.
Absolutely. Little bit of a miss on synchronization, but I don't think they're going to be punished very hard for that.
Scores 6,
I don't know if I can hear you again.
6.5, 6.5, 6, 5.5, 5.
All right, what do we have here
5.5,
from Sarah?
6, 6.
107.
Sarah
B.
and Cassidy.
This was their lowest
107B.
scoring dive in the prelim, so
Yep.
we'll see if they can adjust.
57. It looked like they were struggling the best we have seen.
Did you say
so far.
57?
57 was their
Oh,
lowest
okay.
scoring.
That's
what
not
a problem
low.
to have. Right? So the problem that seemed like they were having was just that synchronization. It looked like Sarah was jumping a little bit higher in the prelim. So let's see.
Not sure if you caught that, Heath, but Sarah was on the corner
Yep.
of the board, so I think she just did a good job to put that in as well as she did.
Scores 7, 5.5, 6.
I think they got away with
7,
one there,
Yeah.
58,
7,
so they do improve
6,
still on their prelim
5.5,
score.
crazy.
6.5,
That's awesome.
6.5,
Now that's the mark of a
6.
veteran right there, to
Yeah.
see that hurdle land on the corner and her to keep her
Yeah.
composure and continue to finish that dive all the way through the water.
Now that's maybe a good question. When you're going, it's maybe more so on 3 meter when there's a lot more variables taking place with the movement of the board. You know, let's say you and I are synchro partners and I notice out of the corner of my eye something's off with your hurdle. Do I adjust, or is that something you adjust, or you just always are going to do the same thing no matter what?
You should be doing the same thing. As soon as you count down 1, 2, 3, go, from that moment on, it's an individual dive.
Okay.
So we're doing a synchronized dive, but once we say go, you do your own thing. If you're trying to pay attention to your partner
Right.
in the air or on the board, it's going to distract you, probably going to mess you up more. So unless the one exception being if you are so far off the corner or over the end or back from them that you need the block, you're
Right.
not going to be able to do your dive. And in that case, you need to yell out loud, buck, 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 buck.
As many to just
As
do.
that, you need to call that audible loud and fast so your partner has time to process and stop on the end of the board and give you guys another chance.
That makes sense. Now, memory could be wrong here. I think that did happen to a synchro. It might have been Cassidy and
It
Sarah,
was
right?
Sarah and Cassidy.
So that's pretty impressive to have that type of communication, to be able to say, like, to be able to make that decision, because like you said earlier, you're talking about split seconds. Like, this isn't something that you have a lot of time to make a decision on.
Well, it was even faster than you think, because the Olympic trials was Cassidy knee buckling, landing on her back on the board.
Right.
I do not think she called any audible.
Just
Sarah noticed
and
stopped, which is unbelievable she saved that to give them a second chance.
That's insane.
51.
All right, round 5. Let's see what we got here. Oh, 51-52. 53 points in the prelim. I think they can do a little bit better than that here.
Aiden has been a little off on the first 2 dives of this final. Let's see if he can make an adjustment and put his hands on this one. Great synchro. Yeah.
Oh, that was much
Still
better.
not perfect, but way better from Aiden, and Sam continues the hot streak.
That was awesome. It's just great seeing these young divers just put it together. Like,
Scores.
I mean, the vast majority of the athletes competing today are age group divers and junior divers. 53.94. I think that's literally the exact same score. So consistency, that's awesome.
6.5.
All right, 207 here.
Max and Zach.
63.72. Better or worse?
They've appeared to have changed their dive to a back 2.5. Significantly higher degree of difficulty.
63.72, so sorry. Got it wrong.
63.7.
Yep.
This is a high degree of difficulty dive.
This is it.
Big
This is an
potential.
Olympic dive. Like, this is a dive we see in the Olympics in this event, correct?
I mean, 3.6. We've got 100-point plus potential here if they nailed it hard. Nice. Really strong. Not going to be 100 points, but it'll probably be 77. That's my guess.
I have a feeling you're going to be pretty close.
7.5.
Ooh, 72. I was a little
Still
high.
pretty good.
Both of them rolled
5.5,
over a bit on the
6.5,
end, so just held on
7,
too long.
7.5,
But strong dives,
7,
great
7,
synchronization. They're going to be happy with that 72, I think.
It seems like
Josh
Max
and
is just a
Tyler,
little bit off on those entries. So when you're
207C.
watching, I mean, it's hard to tell from the angle we're at, and we're elevated. But what do you see there that he can make an adjustment maybe as he goes throughout the week to really clean those things up?
I think both of them on that one just held on at just a hair too long. And like I said before, these are fractions of a second you're working with here. And I've done that dive they just did, and it is hard and it is fast. So you got to work quick, and your brain's got to work quick. So they just got to make a small adjustment on come out timing there.
All right, back 3.5. Josh crushed his dive there.
That was very, very good, but these guys have set a high expectation for themselves that I almost wasn't impressed. I forgot to be impressed because I am. That was still amazing. But these kids have been so good over not just the previous rounds of this meet, but other meets in last year and the previous 2 years. Like, these guys have set a high bar for themselves moving
final
forward.
round.
And it's, I mean, it's kind of ironic because it's like,
Antonina and Dominique.
it's almost like they're the perfect pair,
405C.
like body type, build, like they're set up for success in
they move
synchronization.
very similarly, I agree.
And it's got to be exciting because I believe both young men are 15, 16 maybe? I could be wrong on the ages here. I don't have them in front of me, but they're very young.
I believe they're both 15.
That's insane.
That was solid. We can see from up here, again, some more sideways movement, but I'm not sure if the judges are going to pick up on that or not.
Scores.
We'll be able to tell.
4.5, 5.
I think they
I
may be able to tell.
I think it's a lot easier for the judges to see a
5.5,
twisting through the water than it is for just the sideways movement, so I think we got a little bit of twisting.
6.
And I guess maybe we should have started with this.
Sadie
For our
and
viewers, I
Ellie,
do believe where you see
405C.
execution on 1, execution 1 is actually going to be that board closest to you on the screen, and execution 2 is going to be that further away board, or left or right if you're looking from the right to left.
That was a really unconfident finish from, I believe, Sadie on the close board.
Scores.
Not 100%.
3.5,
One of the girls on the
3,
close board,
2,
diver A,
4.5.
just
4,
didn't look confident
4,
on that finish, and I
3,
mentioned that before. That
3.5,
fast, confident
3,
come out is
3.5,
going to get you a
3.
much higher score, even if you're over or
Kiara
under.
and Mary Kate. 405C.
All right, we're going to see the same dive again here from Kiara and Mary Kate.
Looked better to me.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Slightly better. Still didn't look super confident in those come-outs, but both of these girls, Kiara and Mary Kate, just put that on their head.
And honestly, for them, they completely changed their list around a little bit. So how much of a factor does that play if you change your list as dramatically as they did? They didn't only change one dive, they also changed the complete order they were going in. Does that affect anything in between?
Yeah, I think
that,
that decision is between them and their coaches,
Yep.
and it could have been for any number of reasons. You never know, but I don't think there's anything wrong with it as long as they've got their head on straight and they can focus. These divers have done these dives a million times.
Yep.
You know, which one you plug into the event, as long as you're focused the right way, shouldn't make a big difference.
Right. Same exact dive.
I think the best one we've seen yet, both of these girls just locked their knees quickly on the out, which is what I've been mentioning over the last two.
Scores,
A slight difference in synchronization
4,
there.
3.5.
With our
6,
diver close to the
4.5,
camera going pretty
5,
short as well.
4.5, 4, 5.5, 4.5, 4.5.
That was big talk on people
Lily
struggling
and
on
Madeline.
gainers earlier.
Yeah.
Now the inwards are hitting too.
Hey, that's all right. Also, I would imagine for a lot of these younger athletes, for the junior athletes, outside of a few of them, this might be the first final in a senior event they've ever had. So, I mean, there has to be a little bit of nerves, a little bit of pressure, like you mentioned earlier, and just kind of learning to deal with that might be just as valuable as the meet itself.
Yeah, that's a big part of competing well, is just learning over time to control your nerves 100%.
How do you work with your athletes on that, controlling their nerves and just kind of going through that meet routine?
Scores 4.
Well,
4.5,
for me now,
4.5,
being the
5.5,
GA coaching college, a lot of the
5,
athletes I'm working with
5,
there have had enough time
4,
for juniors to kind of work
6,
that out for themselves a lot.
5.5.
But I mean,
Kaylee
people still get
and
stressed
Avery,
during meets, and it's just
51,
reassuring
52
them.
B.
You've done this hundreds, if not thousands of times.
Right.
Like, relax, take a deep breath, go out there and do what you do. You know, trying to help people not overthink it.
So let's see. This was a really weak dive for them in the prelim, but let's see. Looked better to me. Looked better to me.
Not bad at all.
And I know that Miss Avery there is just coming off Junior Worlds. So I think that's quite an accomplishment within itself to be able to kind of turn around. Yeah, 20 points better.
5.
Yeah, that's all. 20-point improvement is huge.
4.5.
And like you said,
5.5,
Avery's probably dealing with some
5,
fatigue
5.5.
there, so awesome to see her on the boards making those
Kayla
changes.
and Mariana, 405 C.
Let's see if they can put this down here. Give us our best inward for this round.
Yep, best one
that
yet.
might be the best one we've seen
That was the
so
best
far.
synchronization I've seen yet, and I think also the best execution.
Yeah, that was, and 41.31 is what they got. 42.93,
There we
just
go.
a little bit better. Good job.
Improvement.
5, 4.5.
I've been pretty
5,
impressed with
5.5,
these young ladies
5,
on 1 meter, or excuse me, on 3 meter,
5.
getting this experience. And
Hannah and Zoe,
for all intents and purposes, maybe
51,
competing
52
against
B.
what we see in 2 years as, again, potentially our favorite to represent us in the Olympics, and getting to compete against them just has to be such an experience.
Yeah, it is. I can tell you back in, I believe, 2016, and it was, wow.
Oh.
Now, that, it does happen.
Yep.
At the highest level. At the Olympic Games, people fall off the board and fail dives, so nothing to be ashamed of there. It's happened to me. It happens to everyone, but extremely unfortunate to happen here. She is not going to love that result. But as I was saying a second ago, my first synchronized event was in San Antonio, Texas in 2015, and there were some big, big names at that event, and I was 15 years old. And it was starstruck, walking around the pool deck, making friends with all these big names. It was crazy.
Incorrect dive.
All right, we got to scoot that way.
All right, trying to stay in the frame here. Heath was trying to scoot off camera.
We're beginners at this, everybody.
But competing alongside those big names, especially as a younger athlete, can be nerve-wracking, can be exciting. It can go any number of ways, but it's definitely intense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to kind of get into our final 4
Sam
pairings here.
51,
And I think we're going to see the top 4 or 5 of this meet kind of shake out in the next 4 dives. So let's see. Mackenzie and Sam have been on fire this event, in my opinion. And this was, I believe, their best dive.
They've improved from prelims already, and this was their best dive.
All right, let's see if they can put it together one more time. That looked
very
pretty good
solid.
to me. Oh, man.
Mackenzie missed the rip just a little bit. Samantha's looked excellent. I'm
Still.
expecting right close to 60 points.
2 days of training, pretty good.
5, 6,
58.
6,
Okay. Yeah.
7,
I think they're going to be
7,
really happy with
7,
that. Mackenzie looked off
6 and a
balance
half,
on the
6
board.
and a half, 6 and a half,
But still,
7,
But
go
as
5
you
and a
said,
half.
2 days of training.
Significantly
That's
higher
Ann
score
and
than
Carolina,
prelims, too.
51,
Awesome
52
job for
B.
those ladies. Awesome job.
now the same dive from Ann and Carolina.
We're
Can
actually
they
good.
answer?
Does it go better than Sam and Mackenzie?
Can they answer?
What do you
58
think?
points. I think they're going to go a little bit higher.
Let's see.
I'm guessing 65 on
I
that
think
one.
so. I think
That
you are
was
correct.
very solid.
But still, I mean, at this level, all of these
Scores
women
8,
are
7,
awesome
7 and a
divers.
half, 7, 6 and a half, 7,
Excellent.
7 and a half, 7 and a half, 7 and a half, 7 and a half.
Now we're going to get a break
7.
from these 51, 52s, and we're going to see a
Bailey
205C
and
here
Lily,
from this younger pairing.
205C.
But still, this younger pairing was on fire all day. They really haven't missed a dive.
Absolutely. I mean, finishing the prelim in second place speaks for itself.
I
Lower DD dive here to finish the list, so they're going to need a higher execution to match those scores we just saw.
I'll be excited to see where this pairing is, not only in 2 years, but next year, or even 6 months from now.
Absolutely. As these young ladies continue to grow and train, I can only
Scores
imagine.
5, 6, 6.
51.
Five
Not
and a
terrible,
half,
but I'm
6,
sure a little bit
5
lower
and a
than
half,
they were hoping.
6,
Yep.
6 and a half,
All right,
5 and a
now,
half, 7 and a
Our
half,
final pair,
6
which
and a half.
you don't get to say this too often, they have already
Sarah
secured
and
winning.
Cassidy, 51,
They're still in
52
first
B.
without doing their last dive. You don't see that too often. But really, I think this was just kind of a big statement and almost like a don't forget about us type meet for both of them.
Yeah, as I said before, I think they were coming back with a vengeance to win this meet after what happened at trials.
I think that might be an understatement.
And I believe that's going to be the highest score of the full outs that we saw.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a lot of thinking that's going to be needed
Scores,
to be done
7 and a
there.
half, 7
Yep,
and a
just a
half,
hair.
7,
Good job. That was
8,
awesome.
Almost
7
7 and a half across. I mean,
7 and a half,
the
7 and a
changes that
half,
need to be made
7,
to that to
yeah.
make it
7
an
and a
8,
half,
8.5,
7
9
and a
are
half.
so minute. That was a very strong finish for Sarah and Cassidy.
So we're just going to kind of run through these as quick as we can before they get to the top and finish the men out. But Sarah and Cassidy in first place, Ann and Carolina in second, Samantha and Mackenzie in third, moving up from fourth. That's awesome.
We love to see it.
That is incredible. Bailey and Lily there in fourth. Fifth, Kaylee and Avery. Kayla and Mariana in sixth. Hannah and Zoe in seventh, even with a failed dive. That's pretty impressive in my opinion.
Yes, it is.
Then you have 8th place Lily and Madeline, 9th place Ava and Megan, and 10th place Kiera and Mary Kate, and 11th Antonina and Dominique, and in 12th Sadie and Ellie. I just think that was an awesome event, and I think we got to kind of see what's going on with our junior divers in terms of synchro, and it seems like we're going to probably end up seeing some maybe more experienced pairs coming through, like a Mackenzie and Sam, if that continues to work out. But that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was an
I
awesome
thought that
women's
was
event.
a really strong final. I think we saw almost all of the girls improve on their score from prelims. One big failed dive, but as I said, that can happen to anyone at any time. Unfortunate, but it's the reality of the sport. So excellent work to all the girls out there.
Now we're going to see some big dives.
52-53B.
We got a big back twister on 10 meter for Aiden and Sam. Now, Sam has been on fire.
Yes.
Aiden has been just a little bit off. This is their final dive. Yeah.
Kind of
really
trend
similar.
continue. Yeah, kind of the trend continuing. Sam really, and Aiden, like you said, just a little off. And what do you think that could be? Just being that little bit off because he's right there. It's not like he's missed anything big at all.
Yeah, I think it could be a problem with just getting his eyes on the floor or just locking his arms out hard enough. It's hard to tell from where we're sitting way up here exactly what the problem
Max
is.
and Zach,
I mean, yeah, landing right on his
109C.
head and just barely missing that entry.
All right, so once again, this is one of those dives that 3.7. So this is another one of those 100-point potential dives that you had mentioned.
Absolutely.
And again, it kind of, in the warm-up at least, it looked like they're just a hair off on that entry. And it's like, if they find it, it could be really fun to see what happens here.
Yeah. The last dive of finals, that's exactly when the sauce can kick in and let you do something real special.
So this is like where you want one of those spicy dives that you mentioned?
Absolutely.
I guess you always want those.
Put a little extra pepper on it. That had some pepper on it.
Yeah, that was pretty darn good. That's the best one I've seen from them this week.
I'm expecting 80 plus points.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not quite a full rip on the water, but straight in.
6.
Only 70.
5.5.
I'm surprised by
5.5.
that.
Yeah, I thought that was definitely better than we've seen, and we're not going to see another front 4.5 today.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe they're further away from the platform than we can tell up here. A big distance will decrease that.
307C.
Right. Now, is there any factoring into list decision coming into this of where they're going to need to be in 2 years? To want to say the goal is we want to be Olympic medalists, and their coach is like, well, this is what it takes, so we need to get meet reps. Is that something that's considered?
For the kids this young with Josh and Tyler, I think number one is still just keeping them safe. So I don't think the coaches are going to push anything that they're not ready for. But these two boys are obviously ready, as Josh absolutely obliterates his 307 and Tyler leaves his barely short. That was an excellent finish.
And now both of those young men were also at Junior Worlds in Montreal just a couple weeks back, correct?
Really?
5.5.
Yeah, I think they actually are coming off a bronze medal
69.36. Oh, okay.
at Junior Worlds, and they're going to be taking home a gold medal at this Winter Nationals.
Excellent work. I mean, Josh is incredible. I'm a little less familiar with Tyler's diving, but obviously I've seen him at a couple of meets, and he's also amazing.
Yep, so we're just going to run through this. And first, Josh and Tyler taking the gold medal. Max and Zach from Miami are taking the silver, and Aiden and Sam taking the bronze there. Just an incredible first night of Winter Nationals. You know, maybe before they kick us off the air here and tell us to be quiet, what are you looking forward to from the rest of the week? I know you might not be able to talk with me a ton, but as a coach, what are you looking forward to the rest of the week?
I'm looking forward to see some big dives hit the water, and I'm looking forward to see some, hopefully, unexpected people take big positions at the top of the leaderboard. That would be amazing to see a couple underdogs sneak in.
I agree. We were talking about that earlier, and just really excited. I will be here with you every night. We're going to try to bring you a different guest announcer with us, and just let us know what you want to hear from us and if you want anything different. So until that, we'll see you next time.
The award ceremony will begin at approximately 5:15. Awards will begin in approximately 4 minutes. 4 minutes, divers. Divers, please report. 1 minute, divers. Please report. Carolina Sculte, will you please report with Ann Fowler? We are ready to begin the awards for Women's Synchro 3-meter. Presenting the award tonight is Jeff Arnett, Bond County Commissioner. In third place, Sam Pickens and Mackenzie Crawford. We're going to re-announce that one. In third place, Sam Pickens and Mackenzie Crawford. In second place, Ann Fowler and Carolina Schulte. And in first place, your 2022 USA Diving Winter National Champions, Sarah Bacon and Cassidy Cook. One more round of applause for these amazing divers. We are ready to present the awards for the Synchronized Men's Platform. In third place, Aiden Wang and Sam Ulrich. Your silver medalists, Max Flory and Zach Cooper. And your champions of the 2022 USA Diving Winter Nationals, the team of Josh Hedberg and Tyler Wills. One more round of applause for the men. All right, I am on deck with our champions. I'm here with our champions of the men's 10-meter synchro, Josh Hedberg and Tyler Wills. Boys, first meet since your junior world bronze medal. What's it like competing again so soon after that meet?
It's pretty fun, honestly. I love competing. Yeah, just overall having a good time, having fun, doing good dives.
So after Junior Worlds, you're kind of already ramped up for competition, so it's great to just go to another competition and show off what you've been working hard for.
Now this is your first senior national title as a team. What does it mean to get a win as such a young team?
Honestly, such a great honor. Yeah.
It feels really good. We've only been training for like 3 months synchro, so it feels good to take a win.
And final question here, what are your plans for the next few years?
Learn more dives, continue to get better, compete more, grow as a team.
Like you said, get bigger dives and aim for 2024 Olympic trials.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Now I'm here with the champions of the women's 3-meter synchro event, Sarah Bacon and Cassidy Cook. What's it like getting back and competing together again?
It was a really fun experience. We haven't dove with each other since the trials of 2021. I've taken a pretty long break. So we just wanted to go out there today and have fun and, just get our feet wet, no pun intended.
Yeah, for me, I've been still diving for the last year and a half. I've been doing a lot of individual, and I love individual, don't get me wrong, but I really miss doing synchro, especially with Cassidy. So it was really fun to get back together at this meet and do pretty well for our first time back. So.
Yeah, my very next question was, what is it like to get the win in your first meet back?
I'm really thrilled. I mean, I wasn't coming in here with a results focus, but to come out on top was, I couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, we had only practiced a couple times before this, so we really just wanted to come out here and have fun and just get back together again. And we did that. Putting a win on top of it was awesome in the end of it, but yeah, it was just fun.
And what is the future plans for Team Cook and Bacon?
I think obviously we're going to keep training. I'll make a few more trips out to Minnesota, and then hopefully be ready by the May World Championship trial so we can secure the Olympic spot for the U.S. this summer.
Yeah, she covered it. That's the plan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ladies. Congratulations.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you guys enter the building? Over there? I wanted to take take a picture of the three of you with this as the backdrop. Oh yeah, I'll come up. I guess if you're there, I can come up.
Our country roads lead to new beginnings, with new opportunities around each mountain bend. Here, we don't just pride ourselves on being the best, we commit to it, designing world-class facilities with premier resources, backed by our communities who are determined to aid in our success. Together, we'll reach new heights. We welcome you to the place where you belong.